Let's bring this to your attention now. The Legal Resources Centre says it's unacceptable that Home Affairs Citizenship Division remains closed. Operations have been suspended since March of last year, with officials citing that the pandemic is the cause. Human rights attorneys say they've been inundated by complaints from individuals who've been turned away when trying to submit their citizenship applications. Now, the LRC attorney, Petra Murray, joins me now to unpack this even further. Thank you for your time, Ms. Ray, and good morning to you. Let's start with the voice of the applicants here. What do they say happens when they go to the Home Affairs Department to try and get their citizenship naturalization applications processed?
Thank you for having me. So these applicants approach Home Affairs and, they qualify for citizenship under Section 4.3, which is citizenship by naturalization. And it's a standing court order that says that Home Affairs must accept their applications on affidavit. So they go to Home Affairs, they attempt to submit their applications, and they're turned away every time, citing that head office still remains closed. And they've actually remained closed since beginning of lockdown, so it's March last year.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can definitely agree that we've seen a spike in infections. It could be a call for concern for most, employers, the department being not immune, obviously, to some of those infections. However, your concern is that even with that being taken into consideration, it's worrisome to you why, the citizenship division is not considered, a key service, one that needs to be reopened at this stage.
Yes, and of course the department has to take precautionary measures, but we've seen the citizenship services being closed since the beginning of lockdown, and with the different alert levels, we expect certain services to remain open, certain services to close and open again. But unfortunately, we've not heard any communication from the department on whether these services will open in the near future. And it's unfortunate that it's not key services. We're not quite sure why it's not key services. But we just want some correspondence from the department, for when this will be open and some kind of contingency plan in the meantime.
Did they at least respond to the 2 letters that I understand you had sent to the department?
Nothing yet. We've not even received acknowledgement of receipt.
Yeah. With that being said then, Ms. Murray, let's talk about the effects this has on the people and the individuals that do need, to process these applications when it comes to the lack of, benefiting or even accessing their rights in South Africa.
Yes, well, of course, citizenship forms a foundation for several other rights contained in the Bill of Rights. And specifically, for these applicants and young adults, several bursaries in South Africa require that, to access higher education, you must actually be a South African citizen. So that's one example where these clients, in theory, qualify for these bursaries, but they actually cannot access these higher education opportunities because Home Affairs is not processing these citizenship applications. So that's one example. People are being prejudiced, to access higher education. But, beyond the formalistic side of it, citizenship is a very personal aspect as well, and it can provide a person with a deeply rooted sense of belonging. So there's a very, there's legal side of it, but there's also a very personal aspect of citizenship that is unfortunately being ignored currently.
Yeah, and as you make that example, you remind me of one particular that I know of a young lady, I think, who was born back in 1999 to parents who are refugees, and unfortunately seems, because she hasn't gotten that application process, she's struggling to get to school, to get higher education, this including bursary. So these are real life stories where it seems people's lives have stopped at this stage.
Yes, and it's extremely unfortunate. And we've seen several clients who are having trouble accessing certain services merely because they're stuck in this limbo land where they qualify for citizenship, but unfortunately this process takes so long. And submitting their application is only the first step. Home Affairs indicated in the draft regulations that this process can take up to 12 months merely for your application to be processed. Thereafter, you still have to apply for an ID document. Your ID number has to be generated. So we're looking at 2 to 3 years for these applicants before they actually have citizenship with the documentation that proves their citizenship in South Africa.
All right, we'll leave it then. Hopefully they will, of course, meet this with the urgency it needs. Legal Resources Centre attorney, Ms. Petra Murray, thank you for your time.